Hey guys, how's it going? We are going to talk about file uploads, how we are going to be able to upload files into our application and manipulate them according to our needs. So, this is actually a new feature that has been it's available for us in Java Server Faces 2.2. And yes, it's extremely, I don't know what the word is, outrageous that only 10 years after we are able to actually upload or manipulate images into our application without having to refer to external frameworks for us to do so. So let's just create an application here, and our application is probably going to take about 2 to 3 videos because the easy part is uploading the files to our application and all that stuff, but rendering, for example, rendering images into our application does take a little bit more work. It does require us to know a bit more about servlets, and we are going to have a bit of a debrief about servlets in the upcoming tutorials. So let's go ahead and create an application here, which is going to be called FileUpload Example. We will be using Java Server Faces version 2.2, and the URL mapping should be to .jsf. And you guys should be wondering why we are able to write the URL patterns this way instead of just saying like all.xhtml. And actually, I'm going off topic here, but I guess it's really important for you guys to know. We all know that Java Server Faces works with .xhtml pages. When our application starts running, the JSF servlet is in charge of parsing that information and creating some extra code that is required for actually the application to work. And prior to version 2.0, or I don't know if it's, I think it's version 2.0, we actually had the default one, which is faces like this. We also have the all.jsf, but what we weren't able to do is do .xhtml because this actually made our application go in some sort of infinite loop, and it wasn't able to render any of the pages. So this is actually available for us now, and we can actually put any extension we want here, and it's going to be shown to us in the URL this way. Obviously, this has some disadvantages when, for example, we actually go into the URL and type the extension differently and stuff like that, and we end up seeing a different type of code that we should be seeing. So I guess this is just a bit of a debrief, and I will be talking about this further on in other tutorials. But I guess let's just say JSF for the moment and start working on the real topic that we were entering on. So our index page is just going to have a form where we upload some files, and we are actually going to work with images since the rest of the things are pretty much easier than images anyways, and it's basically the same principle. So in Java Server Faces 2.2 we have the input file tag, which allows us to upload files. We set the value here, but the value, keep this in mind, is going to be, let's say, ImageBean. It's going to be of a specific type. So we will talk about this in just a second as soon as we create the ImageBean. Let's set some attributes here saying required true, and the required message to be file or no file is selected. So now that we have our input file, what we can do is create a command button, which basically just says upload image. And well, for the moment, I guess what we can do is just call an action, which is inside of the ImageBean also upload image. There we go. So let's create also a messages for we can leave it like this. Create a line break here, and that is it. So while we wait for our application to run and deploy the Glassfish server and everything, let's just go ahead and start creating our ImageBean. So it's going to be called ImageBean, and it will be inside of the beans package. We can make this view scoped. And one thing that I don't know if I mentioned, I should have, but just in case, you can actually see that we have two view scoped ImageBeans annotations here, and one of them, the view, which is the new one, is actually annotation for the CDI ImageBeans, and this is actually created a bit later on. So this is how we can create view scoped CDI ImageBeans, just in case you're wondering. And that's the reason why we have to be so careful when importing the proper package for this annotation when it's JSF ImageBeans, which is the faces bean, and the other. So there we go, our application is running, and this is what I wanted you guys to see. The good thing is that we are in development mode. For those who don't remember that, this is where it's at in the deployment descriptor. And the good thing about this is that we actually get reminded when we are doing something that generates some misbehavior in our application. So as you can see, it says FileUpload component requires a form with an enc type of multi-part form data. And this is basically required in any HTML web page that has the file upload component set on it. So let's just go ahead here in the form and set the enc type, which is multi-part form data. That's all we need to do. Refresh this application. There you have it. What else can we do? Actually, let's create a line break also here. So now that we have this, our ImageBean, we need to create the image property and the upload image method, action method. So let's get started. Private, and this is where it gets interesting. Our image is going to be of type of object part, and there are a lot of part classes, so we need to be really careful when we do this, and it's the servlet HTTP. Okay, that's the package that we want to import. And that's it for the moment. So let's create these setters and getters here. And let's go ahead and create our action method, which is upload image, which is going to return to the same page. So that's basically what it's doing. And the upload image is basically going to perform some sort of procedure here, business logic or whatever you want to call it. But in this moment, we might as well just say image has been uploaded. So let's clean the server. And that is it for the moment. So if we refresh this application, we select some sort of an image here. So I have a test image already set, and we have nothing here in the server output, but when we click on the upload image, you see that the, oh god, what happened? Oh, it's ImageBean, not images. There you go. Now will you let me run this application? And as you can see, actually, you should be getting this in your own language, I guess, since it's set up in my, it's in Spanish, but okay. So we have our test image here, and we click on upload, and there you have it. It just returns us to our application. And you see here that the image has been uploaded. Perfect, that's what we wanted to see. But now, what is that part object? What can we do with it? So the part object just basically contains all the information about the image that we have uploaded to our application. So if we say, for example, image, we have some getters, right? We have the content type, which is extremely important. We have the input stream, from which we can actually get the content, or the bytes of the image itself, or the file. We have the name, but don't get me wrong, this isn't the image name, okay? The image name is the get submitted file name, so be really careful when you do this. And we have the get size, okay? So those are basically all of the properties, or that's all the information we need to manipulate our images in whatever way we see required for our application. So here we go. We need to now do some uploading to this. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a fake database, which is basically going to be an application scoped ImageBean, which has a map that contains images. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a new ImageBean, which is going to be database bean. It's going to be application scoped, and that is it. And our ImageBean is going to have a map, which is going to be containing keys of type string and values of type image. Okay, so the image is going to be an entity that we are going to create. And that entity is going to contain basically all the information that our part object has for us. Okay, so basically all the information regarding the image. That's it. So let's create another package here, which is going to be entities. And the entities is going to have a Java class, if I can get it open, which is going to be called image. The image is going to have an integer ID. It's going to have a content type. It's going to have a name. Obviously, it's going to have the content itself. And that's pretty much it. So let's create these setters and getters for all of these guys. And that's all we need here for our image. So let's go ahead and import this. Alt enter, and you see we have the import for entities. That's it. Now we all need to set the getter for this, because the setter is going to be automatically created, right? So we're going to set the eager to true here, so that our ImageBean is created as soon as the application startup. And we are going to create a post construct method, which is going to create an instance of our database. That's it. There we go. So that's all our database bean is going to have. So we are going to inject our database managed bean into our view scoped managed bean. So you guys should remember this already. If I haven't already explained it, it's the most simple concept there is. Let's just say private database bean, and let's just say db bean. And what we do is just use the managed property, which has a value, and that value is basically how you would call the managed bean from a view. Okay, so this would be, you guys should remember that the naming conventions, the default naming conventions for a managed bean from the view, being accessed from the view, is the first letter in lowercase and the rest however it is. Okay, so db bean, this would be the way that we access our managed bean. Okay, so that's all we need to do right there. Our managed bean or our database bean is going to contain a database. So okay guys, so unfortunately we have ran out of time, so I will make a stop here and continue on the next video. See you on the next video.